My name's Ollie, and today we're going to be looking at the question, how globalised is the Premier League and what soft power influence does this give the UK? Now, in order to answer this question effectively, I've decided to break it down into 5 sections. Firstly, we'll start off with an introduction, then in section 1 we'll be looking at the makeup of the Premier League. In section 2 we'll be looking at how it gives the UK soft power, then we'll be looking at drawbacks and then round it off in a conclusion. Firstly, we're going to introduce the two topics. The Premier League is the top level of English football. Consisted of 20 clubs, it operates on a system of promotion and relegation with the English Football League, otherwise known as the EFL. Seasons typically run from August to May, with each team playing 38 matches, playing all other 19 teams both home and away. Most games are played on Saturday and Sunday afternoons, with the occasional weekday evening fixtures. The competition was founded as the FA Premier League on the 20th of February 1992, following the decision of clubs of the Football League First Division to break away from the Football League. The Premier League is a corporation where Chief Executive Richard Masters is responsible for its management, whilst the member clubs act as shareholders. The Premier League is the most watched sports league in the world, broadcasted in 212 territories to 643 million homes and a potential TV audience of 4.7 billion people. On the other hand, globalisation is an ongoing process which has caused the world to become increasingly interconnected in an economic, social, cultural, and political way. This process began centuries ago and was achieved through trade, colonialism, and cooperation. Now you may be wondering, how on earth do these two link? But as we look at the owners and players in the Premier League, it will quickly become apparent just how diverse and globalised the Premier League actually is. Firstly, we are going to examine and understand just how diverse teams are now, and what better way to do this than using my club as an example, Liverpool FC. In Liverpool's full squad of 43, there are only 18 English players, which is relatively low, considering the team is based in England. Due to the team being highly diverse, it means the team is made up of 4 different continents and 19 different countries. Later on in section 2, I will examine why this gives power to the UK and in what way. However, next is all about owners. Over the last 20 years of football, we have seen a rapid increase in the number of foreign owners in Premier League clubs. Tottenham are the only Big Six side with a British owner, the Big Six being made up of the 6 biggest teams in English football, as backers from the USA are in the majority in the Premier League. Arsenal, Burnley, Liverpool, Manchester United, and Aston Villa are all in American hands. Only 4 clubs in the Premier League have the majority owned by the English, with only 1 club 100% British owned. Chelsea's takeover by Russian Roman Abramovich was a watershed moment for English football. However, since the recent conflicts between Ukraine and Russia, Mr. Abramovich has had his assets frozen, which cut off an important link for the Russians. Another team who has been hot topic at the moment is Newcastle. After the takeover stalled for almost 18 months, the Premier League finally approved it in October 2021, with the Saudi Sovereign Public Investment Fund, otherwise known as the PIF, buying an 80% stake in Newcastle. It was a long-awaited £300 million takeover, which gave Amanda Staveley and Mohammed bin Salman the opportunity to invest their £320 billion into the club. However, it wasn't all perfect for Newcastle, as some say they didn't buy into the club because they wanted to invest and give joy to the fans. However, instead they wanted legitimacy and credibility. By buying into a team like Newcastle in the Premier League, in one of the most powerful countries in the world, it is effectively buying themselves legitimacy on an international scale. As you can see in the pie chart, Newcastle's worth has increased 100 times more than what it used to be worth, making them richest club in the Premier League by £299 billion. This nicely leads on to section 2, where we'll be looking at how this gives England soft power over the rest of the world. Over the last 20 years, the number of foreign players in the league has gradually increased. Economically, the Premier League brings fuel to the fire when it comes to globalisation, as in just 1 year, the Premier League can bolster £8.7 billion, even amid the global pandemic. This leads to massive widespread impact across the rest of the world, making the UK a global hub and very much a part of the tripolar economy. Another reason is due to the social aspects, as it helps promote England's ideals and can give people motivation to participate in physical activity around the world. It also helps with cultures being spread due to teams travelling all over the world and having such a diverse group of players. And finally, politically, It maintains the differences which give each European country a distinct identity, while strengthening the bonds that bind Europe together. I'm also going to have a look at the drawbacks of the Premier League and what negative effects it could potentially pose. Violence and hooliganism at football matches has been a key feature of English life since the formation of the first leagues in the 19th century, and was a natural byproduct of a fierce team rivalries and drinking culture. This in turn leads to marginalisation, which is when the lower classes do not feel a part of the system, which means they would suffer from status frustration. This is how hooliganism came about. For example, on the 10th of March 2019, there was a derby match between Aston Villa and Birmingham City, where an Aston Villa player named Jack Grealish was assaulted by a Birmingham City fan. This led to him picking up a lifetime ban from the stadium and 14 weeks in prison. Events such as these put England in a bad light and means tourists wouldn't feel comfortable going to a fixture in fear of getting attacked, which in turn would reduce attendance. So an example of England trying to combat this is in the run-up to the 2006 World Cup, where British authorities required 3,300 known hooligans to turn in their passports to the local police, preventing them from travelling to Germany. Therefore, this, in some sense, takes power away from the UK, with others making their own decisions deciding not to come due to their perception. Therefore, to conclude, I do believe that England gains soft power from the Premier League and it gives them a global influence. However, there are other reasons why it could potentially hinder their reputation, one example being perception and how it can be twisted through the media. But besides that, the Premier League truly does give the UK soft power, such as campaigns like No Room for Racism and players taking the knee before kick-off. Due to these athletes being role models to younger people, it helps promote a better and more inclusive society, which would be safer and more sustainable in the long term. That brings us to the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email at huck004@theleeds.net.